Beautiful day, Patriots. How are you? We're going to just do part two of my story to hopefully use as, again, words of encouragement to see, and we use me as an example here to show that we're not different from each other. All of us are the same. We're all the same people, just viewing things differently because of life's experience, let's say. So, with me growing up, as I had said earlier, with holidays, I just, as a child, refused and hated and was just did not like the holidays. And as I grow up now, I was like, oh, okay, I was born that way to not get into the repetition of that patterns and accidentally worshiping in these holidays. I've got some, let's just say, questionable past. Okay. So then as I got older, as a young adult, at the holiday tables, Thanksgiving or Christmas tables, when the family would get together, my male role models were, I had a stepfather by that time that was a Southern California motorcycle cop, a uncle that was at the table that was a up and coming paramedic that ended up at the end of his career being the top notch number one fire. I don't really know if it's the top is fire captain or if it's fire chief, but he became the number one position of all the fire department in LA County. He's well known in them parts. And so when I was a kid at these holidays, I had many opportunities. Oh, and my grandfather was a federal mailman. Okay, so all government officials. And now, if I wanted these opportunities, I had them. I was in high school, part of the Fire Explorer program for a few years, where you become and have the training to become a fireman. It'd go to the whole program. It was quite a fun experience for a few years, and but by the time I'm at these holiday tables and I'm looking at my male role models, and I'm hearing the jokes and the life scars. Like, the cop sees the worst of people. The paramedic goes to just nothing but what, in LA, just two gunshots, and he sees the worst. The mailman walks through all these neighborhoods. He knows and sees the dirt on everybody. So the conversation was just always this, I don't know if racist is necessarily the right word. I always interpreted it as macho, way too macho. And I'm like, whoa, look at me. I'm on this track of becoming a fireman. And when I'm hanging out at the fire department, I'm looking at all these men doing the same exact as macho talk of this just, I don't know if I want to really become that kind of an image. Okay. I mean, I'm pure man. I've always loved being a man and my manly sports, I love it. I'm a alpha male. But at the same time, I don't want to be a bully alpha male. So I'm looking at my role models and I'm like, so I would surfing constantly. I learned how to surf 10 years before this time by now, and now I'm in high school. I don't go to school. I'm just surfing and doing my own thing, fighting the system, as they say, right? So as children, as little kids, as, say that, what do they call that, a preteen, and then in your young teens, we do a lot of observing. And we sit there and say, man, when I grow up, I'm not going to be like that. As a young child, when the parent spanks you at 5 and 6, you say, I never would spank my kid, right? And then as a 10 and 12, you get grounded or disciplined, taking your, I was going to say bicycle away, but now it'd be your computer and iPhone and toys. And the kid would say, man, that's the cruelest thing ever. I would never do that to my kid. And then as you get its teenager and some people's lives, let's just pretend there's like alcoholic parents that do abuse on the child, either be physical, mental, or any other kind of abuse, just not being there, right? By the time you're a teenager, you start rebelling against those things. And you say, man, I'm never going to drink like my parents drank, or any other substance, right? But then as life goes on, and we rebel as teenagers and we go out and follow the wrong crowd because we're rebelling of all this stuff, we accidentally find ourselves actually mimicking the roles of our parents or the role models that we said we don't want to be a part of. Is this making sense? Kids will always sit there and say, I'm not going to become an alcoholic like my alcoholic parent, but as they grow older, as teenagers, get experienced in alcohol, and then all of a sudden that's the role models they saw and everything, and then so it's so easy to slip into alcoholism. And as they say and teach us, alcoholism is hereditary. How come? Well, they want to say it's because it's in our genes. How about if it's in our role models? We're just talking. As I say, as I saw my role models, and I was saying at those ages, I'm not going to be a part of that system. I made a conscious choice as a young child, just like all of us do. When I was young, I said, I want to be a fireman, and then all of a sudden, I can't believe it, as I got older, here it is. I'm actually have all these opportunities at my footstep. And I'm becoming a fireman. But then I look at it, and I'm like, I don't think I want to be this. Because of how the people were acting. It wasn't that I didn't want to go out and fight fires. It wasn't that I became a wildland fire just a few years ago. Just, not too long ago. I'm not afraid of fire. You ever been that close to fire in a forest fire and still keep it cool and have a smile on your face? I thought it was hopefully showing the flames up higher. I'm not afraid of fire. I didn't want to be that type of a person, you see. And so when all of us as children sit there and say we're not going to be that. But as life goes on, we start getting beaten down. And we have to sit there and then have to go and get our high school diploma. And if you're going to succeed, you have to get your college education. And if you have to succeed, you have to pay your taxes. And if you're going to succeed, you have to have and keep up with the Joneses. And before you know it, once you accumulate something, there's no way you're going to let go of what you've accumulated. Impossible in our system right now. If you went and got your college education and spent all those years, 4 years spending on your college education and all the money that it was, and let's pretend like you've paid it all off even, and then found out that it wasn't what it was supposed to be, would you be able to turn it away and walk away from that education and follow just the opposite of it? Or would you hold on to the rest of your life to the system that was taught to you? Not what you taught to yourself, but what the system taught to you. So we all as kids, if you have kids, I don't, but if you have kids, you will hear your own children sit there and say, I'm not going to grow up like you. I said that to my parents. You might have said it to your parents. Maybe your children say it to you. Maybe you've heard this or at least can relate to what I'm saying. I'm not going to grow up like that. But after a while, we get, as human beings, beat down and find ourselves in life in a situation that we didn't realize we would be at. Like, let's say in debt or in mortgage, holding on to something like, I finally got my own home, but barely able to actually, in reality, not be able to actually pay for it and keep your life going, by losing $1 a month. Doesn't seem like much, but as time goes on, it's killing you. But we won't sell the house to move forward or downgrade. No way, I can't give up what I've got now. And this is what Jesus said. Why would it be easier for a camel to walk through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven? It's not the money that he had. It's not the possessions that he had. It's or the knowledge that he had to go out and make more again. If he has so much and that much knowledge, he could have just given it away and then go out and make it again, right? But see, he could not let go of what he had to then go forward in a new thought process. That's why it's not the riches that the man had. It's the mindset that he had. He could not let go of the world to follow Jesus Christ. So as kids, we say we won't. So it's always going to be tough If you think that you can just sit there and say, I'm not going to be like that and have it a smooth street,